Here at the Going Broadway podcast, going forward, we will be sponsoring a new movie every week. This week's movie, Groundhog Day. Sorry about that, guys. Just with our setup and plus how early we were into the show, we kind of just had to do a take two. But hopefully we don't have those same issues again. So just a blanket good morning to everybody. We literally had to reset everything, reset comments, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you jumping back on with us. I apologize for the technical issues. Hopefully we don't run into that anymore. What were we talking about before we...
We weren't really talking about... You said, Cole, how are you doing? I said, good. You said, same. And then it was like frozen.
Oh.
So
maybe the technology in here got bored with us and our terrible banter. So I'll tell you what, guys, let's just dive right in. So I posted something on our social media pages about Adam Cole attending an AEW party over Memorial Day, and I had some back and forth with some people that participated in the discussion, and I always appreciate you guys, talking back and forth with us on Facebook and on our Twitter, on Instagram as well. I'll tell you what, Cole, I'm going to give the floor to you because I kind of let my thoughts be fairly well known. I'll go into more detail, but what do you think about this? Is it something? Is it nothing? Could it be something?
So when you have these wrestlers who have romantic partners in other companies, we know of several actually that are out there. I think that this is something that you're just going to see become more normal. Maybe in both company or all companies. I shouldn't just say both because there's not just two. All companies are probably going to have to find ways to allow them to have their lives. Otherwise, they're going to lose their talent. I think, to me, this just looks like Adam Cole spending the weekend with his girl, and his girl had a event to go to. If you are married or have a romantic partner, you know that you go to social events together. So I don't think this, here's the thing. He has great relationships with a lot of those guys, but there's no reason for him to leave where he's at, especially with the kind of money that is going to be thrown at him when the time is right, when his deal is up and it's time for a new deal. The kind of money that will be thrown at him, the storyline that will be given to him, because I think everyone understands that he is kind of the next guy, to be the face or the next big name to come up. And I kind of shared my thoughts in a private group that we have between Alex and I and a friend, that I could kind of see Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era kind of taking over SmackDown and kind of making very much doing what AJ Styles did when he kind of went to SmackDown and kind of making it the house that AJ Styles built kind of thing, but more centered around Undisputed Era because you got 4 great talented guys who can kind of take over every facet of that show. So it wouldn't shock me if he goes to AEW because his girl's there, his friends are there. But I also think his friends are there in NXT with Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. So I just don't see him leaving with the prominent role that he has. So if he leaves, it's due to personal reasons, knowing that he wants to be with Britt more often. He wants more creative control. And the fact that AEW might just have told him, hey, we'll give you prominent storylines here. We can't offer as much, but you've already made decent money. Might as well do this.
But here's the thing. They can offer more because the Khan family is worth more than WWE. So I'm not saying...
Yeah, but you throw the whole checkbook at him? No.
But here's what I'm getting at. So Mark says it isn't necessarily something. Cole's making a good point, which you are. Couples work for different companies. It happens. Someone else said it shouldn't matter what people do outside of their, or shouldn't do. So Thomas, he says what they do outside the ring in their personal life should not matter. No, it totally doesn't. And again, like Mark said, it isn't necessarily something, but it isn't necessarily nothing either, because his contract is rumored to expire this summer. And the fact of the matter is, they could throw the whole checkbook at Adam Cole. Adam Cole is somebody that AEW could build their company around, because, I mean, they've got MJF, and I'm looking at younger talent at this point. Looking to the future, they've got MJF, as we clearly have seen over the last couple weeks, especially. They've got Jungle Boy. I mean, I see them pushing him to the moon in the next 3 or 4 years. They could bring on Adam Cole to kind of fill that singles heel role. Again, this is just speculation. We're wrestling fans. We have a podcast. We have a platform. So we're supposed to embellish a little bit. That's all we're doing. But, like Mark said, it isn't necessarily something. It isn't necessarily nothing either. I could very easily see a bidding war between WWE and AEW over Adam Cole, because obviously if he stays in WWE, if he goes to AEW, he's going to get a nice hefty raise. That's obvious. My thought process is, does AEW maybe offer more in the way of, kind of like you said, creative control? Do they offer more in the way of maybe another executive spot? Would Adam Cole want an executive spot? I don't know. But I'm kind of selfish in the sense that, and I'm selfish because I've followed the Being the Elite series since the beginning, and I selfishly hope he does go to AEW. I agree with most out there that he probably won't. I'm probably in the minority saying I hope he does go to AEW, which that's totally fine. I hope he goes just for the sake of competition, because I not only hope that AEW succeeds, I hope that WWE succeeds. I would like to see a healthy competition, just like there was back in the day with WWF and WCW. It makes the business better. It makes it more entertaining. It makes both companies step up their game from an entertainment and a creative standpoint. That's all I'm getting at, as far in that regard. Now, as far as the personal aspect, I don't know how often he and Britt Baker get to see each other. They may still get to see each other a couple times a week. That might be enough for them from a relationship standpoint. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts here that we don't know about, but it's a talking point, so I wanted to bring it up.
I would say this. I would say it just depends on where he's at in his life, okay? Because a lot of these wrestlers get to a point where money is not the end-all result, and even prominent role is not always the end-all result. It just comes down to what works best. Now, I do agree with you. I don't think it's nothing. I don't think you go to an AEW or a Tony Khan party and act as if nobody there didn't mention him jumping ship. Let's not play stupid. You've been to a dinner party before. I go to dinner parties all the time, and someone tells me about a job opening or something.
I like how you phrase. Sorry, I like how you phrase it. Dinner party. It sounds so
official.
So. Well, I was gonna say so almost ritzy.
I've been to a barbecue.
There you go.
I've been to a backyard barbecue.
We be grilling
with a volleyball net. No, we've all been there. We've been just where random conversation come up and said, "Hey, did you ever think about jumping ship and doing this?" Or, you work for a bank and another person works at a bank and they tell you they got a better opportunity at their bank. You work at this place, that's just a part of life. So I don't think that there probably wasn't mention that him and Tony Khan didn't have a hot dog together and say, "Hey, what's your thoughts, of what would it take to get you in AEW?" Because,
by the way, guys, Tony Khan is from Illinois. I guarantee you, he had a hot dog. He might make billions of dollars, but
might even have had cheese in it. I'm just kidding.
They might have. I think those are disgusting. Continue.
But honestly, Tony Khan's a businessman. Those kind of settings are where you have casual business conversation. So it wouldn't shock me if they talked about it. But honestly, and I shared this in our group, I would, if it really centers more around him and Britt being able to be together, I would more or less see WWE offering Britt a contract versus losing Adam Cole to AEW at that.
That could very well be true. You also got to look at it from the standpoint, though, that Britt Baker, I'd say at bare minimum, probably signed a 3-year contract with AEW, if not longer. You also have to look at it from the standpoint of, would WWE allow her to continue her dental practice like AEW is doing?
So you look at it this way. If she goes NXT, I could see that being a thing.
Could be.
Because NXT is right there in Florida. That's where her thing is. And honestly, she could be a monumental part of building NXT and being one of those prominent role people in NXT, like a Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor going back there, like people who want to stay there. She could be a big name in the women's division that always kind of keeps things going as new faces come in and out of that division. So it would put her in the running to be closer to Adam and allow Adam to be around more.
I'll say this. If WWE signs Britt Baker and she ends up going to NXT, she's going to be by far the highest paid person that is it's officially part of the NXT roster. I'm not counting Charlotte Flair. I get this. She's the women's champion, but they still, I don't know. If you go to WWE's website, I don't know what official roster they have her on, but I guarantee you it's not NXT. I want to read some of your guys' comments real quick, and I appreciate you all participating in our conversation, so I apologize if I leave anybody out here. Thomas says, I don't think it's any more than him going to a party with his girlfriend, just like she showed up to a WWE event to support him. Steve says, I hope Adam does go to AEW. Brian says, I think he is leaving, especially if he loses it in your house. We will get there. Travis says, I am best friends with Kenny Omega.
Prove it.
Maybe he meant to say he is best friends with Kenny Omega. I don't know. I know they're both gamers. Anthony, good morning. Dusty says, I love how WWE tried to copy AEW's quote-unquote fans by using developmental talent to show how far out of reality they still are. AEW uses roster members who have personality and a name, but WWE uses developmental talent that have never seen TV time before. Win goes to AEW. I have to agree with that, and I posted this on our social media pages. It just felt awkward on Raw. It felt like they were trying too hard. It felt forced. Let's see. Steve says, I would like to see the feud against Kenny for kicking Adam Cole out of the Bullet Club. Anthony says Adam Cole versus Cody, battle of Bullet Club leaders. Thomas says, I don't see Adam leaving WWE yet. Let's see. Anthony, or Cody and Brandy versus Cole and Britt Baker. Buddy says that ain't happening. He says wrestling is dying. I won't get on that soapbox for too long, but I disagree. I think wrestling is on the up and up at this point, especially once we get out of this pandemic. People are going to be flocking to any and every sporting event that they can, including professional wrestling. Thomas says, I love the old 80s NWA. Agree with you there. Dusty says, if you're talking money for one of the hottest free agents and the best talents in the business, the Khans will throw a big stack to him just to slap Vince in the face to show his wealth. It's like a piece of lint in the Khans just taken out of the dry cleaner's pants pockets. That is one of the most fantastic analogies I've ever read in my life. Very detailed. I agree. I think, excuse me. I think that there's going to be a bidding war here, is what it comes down to. Cold talk for just a second. I got to get a drink.
So I'm reading some of these comments though, because one that struck me for a little while back that we talked about was, Britt going to one of his events. If you go listen to Britt talk about that, she has a decent relationship with Triple H and Stephanie though, which again is why I say I think it would, if the main focal point is for them to be able to be together, if they feel like their relationship is moving to more of a marriage or that kind of serious kind of relationship, it would almost to me make more sense for her to jump ship to NXT/WWE than it would for Adam Cole to go to AEW. I'm also reading Robert here says, I don't believe Britt would go to NXT as she would need to sacrifice her availability to her dental practice, something which she is on record as saying would it be possible if she was in NXT. Now, I understand that point, but NXT is in Florida, where her dental practice is. And if you understand how NXT works, you're not even guaranteed to be on TV every week. They bounce back and forth between storylines. Like, when was the last time you saw Finn Balor on TV? It's been 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Finn Balor's one of their biggest names, but Finn Balor hasn't been on TV in 2 or 3 weeks. Now, there might have been a promo for Finn Balor. There might have been a promo from Damian Priest talking about Finn Balor.
You can shoot those anywhere, though.
To keep those going. But with the way that the pandemic has shown us that we can shoot a video on our phone and still make it a decent promo, it's easy. She could easily go sign a contract that allows her to make decent money, continue to wrestle, continue to be a prominent name, and still have her dental practice. And with her still being in the area, it would allow her to go put a couple days in a week still there, which is probably what she's doing with AEW, because AEW, she's flying out the day of the show, doing her show, and flying back the next morning. So if she doesn't even have to fly to wherever AEW is and gets to do all of her stuff right there in Florida, I don't know. I think it would actually be something that could happen. But ultimately, I think they stay where they're at.
So,
if I had to put my finger on the answer, I think Britt stays in AEW, and I think Adam Cole signs a big WWE contract, because at the end of the day, that's the dream, right? I mean, when you're in professional wrestling, AEW is such a new thing that no one's really dreamed of being AEW world champ, and now, Adam Cole has a huge shot at being the top guy in WWE, which has always been the dream, always been the end result. I think you got to see that out before you jump ship to another company.
Okay, so a few points. So as far as the whole NXT sacrificing dental practice aspect of things, that wouldn't be a problem. Like Cole said, we've seen how, you can shoot an entire, 30-minute cinematic video just from your iPhone and make it look like you shot it using a 5-figure camera. So that's not going to be an issue. If Britt went to NXT and let's say she wasn't on TV for a week, she could fly in and out of it's in Winter Park, Florida. I don't know. Is it Orlando the closest to that? I don't really know, but she could fly in and out of there just when she's needed and then go to her dental practice practically for 2 weeks if she's not on TV for a particular Wednesday, but then just shoot a promo from her house or from her dental office. AEW's done that.
I believe Full Sail is only an hour from Orlando. So it's not even like a flying matter. It's more of a just drive out there and do it.
Now, the other point I was going to make, you mentioned that ultimately, if you are a wrestler, the ultimate goal is to be WWE champion. But if you're a wrestler, excuse me, if you're a wrestler, does that goal change because of how, excuse me, guys, does that goal change because WWE, the product, and just the aura of it, in my opinion, over the last 5 to 10 years has dramatically changed in such a way that it doesn't feel as prestigious, for lack of a better way of putting it, and I'm talking about the WWE title, as it once was, because WWE is not the only it's not the only option anymore. Ultimately, no, AEW is not, I disagree with the pundits that say that AEW is second rate or, you can't lace up WWE's jockstrap. Okay, whatever. I get that WWE has been around since the 80s. AEW has been around for a year and a half. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that AEW is ever going to surpass WWE. That's not the point of my argument. What I'm getting to is if you're Adam Cole and you know that you can potentially make just as much money going to another company, because I do see them getting into a bidding war, because his contract, and this is the other point I was going to make, his contract expires around the same time that this pandemic is probably going to, I'll say, subside enough to where we can start having live fans. I'm at this point, I'm reading July or August, and it's, they've said July or August for the last 2 months. So I think it's a positive thing that they haven't moved that out. But that's also around the time that his contract supposedly is up. So if you're WWE, you're going to offer Adam Cole whatever you can to get him to stay. You're going to move him to Raw or SmackDown just for the ratings boost. And more than likely, I would see him going to SmackDown because they're on Fox. He's going to get more eyes that way.
Yeah.
Now, from a logistics standpoint, the WWE Championship isn't on SmackDown. The Universal title is. I don't know if that matters or not. That's just kind of another thing to throw into this. Again, I said this earlier. We're wrestling podcast hosts. We embellish a little bit. We maybe overthink things, but that's what we're supposed to do. Now, if you're AEW, you're going to do the same. You're going to offer Adam Cole as much as you possibly can to get him to come to your brand. And I know someone earlier said that they act like that, the Khans have an endless pocketbook or all kinds of money or something like that. They do. They're worth billions of dollars. I mean, within reason, no, they're not going to throw a blank check at him, but at the same time, they're going to offer Adam Cole as much as they possibly can to get him to jump to AEW. Whether that's more or less than WWE, we don't know. It remains to be seen. Ultimately, I agree with Cole from the standpoint that he probably will stay in NXT/WWE. I think that Britt Baker stays with AEW. The thing I disagree with is you mentioned that Britt Baker is more than likely to sign with NXT as opposed to the other way around. I don't see that happening just as much, but I think I see it on an equal platform that I think Adam Cole signing with AEW is just as likely as Britt Baker going to NXT. Anyway, I mean, that's something
that to me is just solely based on if they are as a couple trying to be more serious together, because the one has to pick where they want to be, right? And to me, if Britt Baker is wanting her dental practice and wrestling too, she should be willing to go wherever Adam Cole is most comfortable being.
No, I agree.
And that's my thought process, is that if she's able to do both, which I think that's a deal that WWE would be more than ready to make if it means keeping not just a future top talent, but a top talent now for years to come. I think that's an easy agreement to make. You see how they treat some of their other guys. I mean, Miz and Maurice, they make tons of money off of the fact that they have their own reality TV show on USA. Mm-hmm. There are tons of couples, the Bellas with Daniel Bryan as well. They have made the deals that they need to make sure that both are happy, even if the one's not a prominent role on their actual show.
Right.
Because Britt Baker being part of the company is still money. Even if they can play off the fact that she has a dental practice, even if, whatever the case may be, it's money. It's publicity. So I just don't see them. I see WWE throwing the checkbook at them, at Adam Cole at least, and saying whatever it takes, whatever you want. Let's get the ink on the paper.
No, I agree. I ultimately see both companies throwing the checkbook at Adam Cole, and let's say Adam Cole stays with NXT, WWE. I see WWE throwing the checkbook at Britt Baker once her AEW contract.
Yeah.
Her AEW contract comes up. So
most definitely.
John says he thinks Britt is staying in AEW. I do agree with that. Rod says Cole's a great talent. I'm not sold on AEW after the last pay-per-view. Seems like when they make a step forward, they take 2 steps back. If you're referring to Double or Nothing, I 100% disagree. That was one of the best pay-per-views they've put on. Again, we had this discussion on last Monday's show. It's a small sample size. They've only had 5 so far. Of the 5, I'd probably put that in my top 2. And and even that top spot would be debatable. I'm partial because I went to Revolution. I was second row from the ring. I mean, that's always going to be tough to beat, especially with the Omega Page Bucks tag match. Let's see. Bill says folks talk like Khan. Yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier. Bill says folks talk like Khan has an unlimited supply of money. He pretty much does. They own the Jacksonville Jaguars. They own one of the soccer teams over in England or Scotland or somewhere. I forgot which one. Fulham, I think. But they're worth billions of dollars. They're worth more than WWE. I don't know what the net worth is of Vince McMahon personally, but I'm assuming that the net worth of, if you compare the net worth of Vince McMahon and Shad Khan, technically, I think Shad Khan is worth more, and substantially more. I could be wrong on that. So if I am wrong, someone correct me. Sean says, as soon as the pandemic is safe enough for all of us to attend live shows again, WWE is going to blow the roof on fire with some hot lead. They will definitely make up for the fan base who are still strong and supporting WWE. I do think that any and all wrestling organizations are going to step up their game from an entertainment and a creative standpoint once this pandemic is gone away enough to where we can all attend events in person. Jesse says Britt has put in some great work, definitely improved from her start. Definitely agree with that. I found her promo last night, and we'll get to the recaps here in a second. I found her promo from last night actually moderately enjoyable.
Yeah.
Matthew says Cole is staying in WWE and Britt is staying in AEW. I'm inclined to agree with that. Now, this is interesting, and Dusty beat me to this. Dusty says, from an interview with Britt 5 days ago, quote unquote, it's all one huge giant family. I hope there's a day in the near future, where Adam Cole can be in the ring with the Young Bucks and Kenny and Cody, and it will come full circle, and we can all be one giant happy family again. We'll see. Bill says, Bill says he has more than most folks do, but there's an end somewhere. I agree, but I don't think the end is going to come with signing one talent. I mean, obviously they're not going to give him a $1 billion contract. No, but it's going to be within reason. It's going to be a substantial raise from whatever he's making now. Jesse makes an interesting point. Does Cole bring everyone up with him if he stays? Do you mean
assuming up to SmackDown or Raw? And I think yes.
Probably. I think they're all going to go together. Now, I wasn't sure if you meant does Cole bring everybody with him if he goes to AEW. I think their contracts are different.
Yeah, if their contracts are different, no, because you can't. Now, I would say that if Adam Cole does, at some point leave, you will see a trickle effect, especially from the talents that are up and coming.
Agreed. There will be like
Adam Cole's a locker room leader, so people will want to follow him if he does make the jump, which would be like Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong. You might see Ricochet, because him and Ricochet are good friends.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And guys, if I apologize if I'm skipping over your if I'm skipping over your questions, but I'm trying to stay on topic right now. Also, guys, real quick, we appreciate the comments, but I've said this before, and I'll probably say it just about every show now, just because we get a lot of new watchers and new listeners and viewers and such. Please keep our comment feed free of profanity or just otherwise vulgar language. I'd appreciate it. Please refrain from using that on our social media pages as well. Robert says, I disagree just because the phone taking video content is acceptable now. I highly doubt WWE will be keen on continuing to accept that type of contribution. Once things return to normal, I'd guess they'd reestablish the requirement for in-house only production. I'm not saying everyone's going to use their phone even outside of this pandemic, but they can send a camera crew out to her to film a 5-minute vignette,
especially if she's only an hour away.
Yeah,
and again, you don't know what these companies are going to do. Something like this, something major that's life changing, that was altering, could change the way you do everything. If
Agreed.
You look at all these companies that are out there, all these retailers, restaurants, whatever, they're all looking at how they can turn this negative into a positive, how they can create this into add new facets to their business. This would be another way that wrestling could look at adding new facets to their business, like the cinematic shot matches. The promos that are cut from home, like the Bubbly Bunch is one of the best things that has come out of the pandemic, and it's all of them shooting their stuff on a phone and editing it together.
And I'm surprised they've only done that twice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's more to be done with it, and if you have creative, which NXT I feel like has decent people down there, it wouldn't take but just a couple camera guys going to her, or her shooting some stuff on her phone to make something work.
Agreed. I do want to mention this as kind of off topic, but I actually agree with this statement so much that I wanted to read it. Jesse says Dolph should leave. He would kill an AEW.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to leave though. I mean,
he's a company guy. He get again another talent who, as long as he's getting what he wants, he stays. He gets to go and travel wherever he goes and has a show for WWE. He usually has a comedy set somewhere in the area as well. Which
is actually quite good. I mean, he's funny. Yeah. He's got YouTube videos. If you guys should check it out, he's actually pretty funny. Let's see, guys. Again, if I'm skipping over comments, I apologize. I'm just trying to stay on topic at the moment. Matthew says, I think they will offer him a huge sum just to show Vince that they can buy whoever they want. Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to be a bidding war ultimately.
That could also be the end of you too. You got to be careful with that mentality of we'll just keep signing whoever we want, because that doesn't always work. You got to make sure you're getting people that not only have draw, right? Because that's important. We obviously know he has draw, but that fit what you're trying to do. And Adam Cole, I think, is a good fit, but does everyone else that they have fit him? Is there a lot of talent? Because we keep naming Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, and that's it. Like, are there other big matches that can come out of Adam Cole versus this person? Or would it just be Adam Cole? And that's the thing, is that we got to make sure that, and this is where I think he's at too in his career, can I have the big match with just Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny and be satisfied? Or can I go and have matches with guys I haven't had matches with yet and do Adam Cole versus Drew McIntyre on the big stage? I know that they had matches in NXT, but can I go and have Adam Cole versus, Finn Balor on the big stage? Like,
no, I agree.
There's just something about being able to headline WrestleMania. There's just something about being able to say I was WWE champion or Universal champion, whatever you want to call it. There's just something about meeting that expectation, and I think those that have done it would tell you that was important to them.
Let's put it this way. If this year would have been like a normal WrestleMania, like with 80,000+ fans, and if Adam Cole were on that card, I think he would actually be more likely to sign with AEW because he could say he's done that.
Right.
I think, in my mind, at least with the state of WWE as it is now, I think having said that you competed on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania, saying that you competed on WrestleMania is actually holds just as much an accomplishment value for a wrestler as the WWE title. I could be wrong on that, but like if I were in WWE, if I were a competitor, I would view being on that platform, competing at WrestleMania in front of 80,000 fans, being able to say that I did that would hold just as much weight with me personally as saying I was WWE champion. Now, I'm probably in the minority in that, and that's totally fine. But yeah, so I'll tell you what, guys, I want to read some more comments, and then I want to get to one more topic, and then I want to talk about Dynamite and NXT last night. So, where did I leave off at? Let's see. Jesse said AW should figure out who's the most talented and underused and grab them once they start getting wrestlers. Then the real war will begin. Travis says, greatest podcast in the history of podcasts. I appreciate it. He says, look at my profile picture of me and Kenny Omega. Yeah, I can see it. Sean, how's it going? Matthew says, Sean, I agree they killed the inner... Oh, sorry. I'm going to skip over that. Again, guys, I'm just trying to stay on topic. Dak says, Double or Nothing was amazing. Was it perfect? No, but man, was I entertained. 100% agreed. I mean, when was the last time we had a quote-unquote perfect pay-per-view? It's been a while. I mean, I would say, that's another discussion for a later date as far as pay-per-views. Sean says Cole will stay with WWE, but they'll enter a storyline to disband Undisputed Era. Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, at some point, Undisputed Era can't stay together forever, especially if you're Kyle O'Reilly, if you're Bobby Fish, if you're Roderick Strong. You're going to want to be in a more prominent role than just having a tag title run or a mid-card title run, because ultimately they would all have the potential to be singles stars. They've all done it on Ring of Honor. They've done it in New Japan.
Undisputed Era has that evolution mentality, though.
No, I agree.
These are guys that, like, once you bring them up to the main roster, that's what I'm saying. You almost have to make this jump soon, because they're running out of things to do on NXT to the point that they could just break them up and make more storylines out of them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's time, move them on to SmackDown, let them have like a good maybe 6 month to a year run on SmackDown as a group, let them do their thing, and then let the dissension and stuff kind of set in once Cole has the belt and some stuff, and let them kind of start to separate in their own way. But these are four guys who all have the ability to go on and be singles wrestlers. I don't know if they're all, I would say, main event caliber, but definitely mid-card, which could usually lead to main event caliber if you progress in that role. You also got any combination of those four could reunite at any point in time and just be a tag team, and not necessarily be the Undisputed Era, but create something that they did in the independent scene or something along those lines.
I want to say something real quick, and this is kind of off topic, but I'd appreciate it if you guys would not hijack our chat thread with, I'll say, business-related posts. At this point, as far as our belt giveaway, we'll give more detail on that later in the show, but at this point, we are not directly affiliated with any particular belt maker. We're not sponsored by any at this time. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would refrain from making any kind of business-related plugs unless you are in contact with me, have permission ahead of time, or unless you're friends of the show, which I've mentioned on the air before. I'd appreciate it if you guys wouldn't plug any specific business, any company, or anything like that without my permission first. All right, guys, let's change topics real quick. So, and I know we're all anxious to talk about this one because we've talked about it once already, but we have a Nia Jax and Kairi Sane Part 2. So there was reports of an injury that Kairi Sane sustained during the spot where Nia Jax basically threw her into steel steps, and she was busted open. I'm assuming this is for a future Raw taping.
I believe this week's Raw taping that's coming up.
Possibly. They're saying as of right now her injury isn't suspected to be serious. And what's interesting is that no one is blaming Nia Jax for the botch, but just being viewed as Kairi Sane missing her mark or trying to impact the steel steps a little too aggressively or a little too snug was the quote that I read. Until I see the spot, I'm more inclined to say that she's guilty until proven innocent just because of her track record. Maybe I'm horrible saying that. I mean, you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree, but your thoughts.
So we've talked about this before, and I still stand by my point, which I'll get to in just a second. I do want to say that especially after seeing that, I've just been watching. For those of you who are social media people, I'm on TikTok, and Nia Jax has a TikTok, and so I took the time to go check out her videos. This is a fun person she's a normal human being. She's a fun person, and she does a lot with WWE staff in her TikTok videos.
I will say real quick, it's like she's an exact polar opposite of how she is on TV. Like, she legit in real life she seems like she's a good, fun person. She's not, she's not harsh or, derogatory towards people. It seems like she has a kind demeanor, which is amazing to me because, I mean, from a personality standpoint, she is coming across as what she should be doing on TV as a talent. So,
so the reason why I said that is that this is not somebody who's coming in trying to hurt people. This is not somebody coming in who is trying to be malicious and being uncaring. If you see how she interacts with talent, especially watching her TikTok and seeing some of the people that are in her TikToks and whatnot, and their relationships, seeing her relationship with some of the people that came out of being on Total Divas and stuff like that, and just what people have actually had to say about her. She's a great friend. She's a great person to be around. And I think what happens is that when you don't have the proper training in any job, you become a danger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad because I think that she is actually, I don't think she's doing these things intentionally. And I think people are so forgiving of her because she's such a nice person that they just blow it off like it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now we've seen enough of a track record to say, okay, yes, it's an accident, but how many accidents does it take before you say, okay, you know what? This is not something that you should be doing in this match. Her track record pretty much involves her throwing people into areas that she probably shouldn't be throwing people into. Throwing people into turnbuckles, throwing people into steps, throwing people into tables. I mean, the throw that she did to Kairi Sane, 2 weeks ago, off of that chest or whatever?
about a month ago. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, I thought that was a bad one. Not because, and it's also the other thing is, she's just a big girl, and everyone else in that company is about a third of her size.
Right.
So everything that she does just looks bad from the get-go because she's throwing around a 120-pound female, and she's twice, if not 3 times their size. So I just at that place where, again, she needs, if she's going to stay in the company, she needs a mentor. She needs a Big Show. She needs Kane, Albert. She needs somebody big.
Albert.
I just know that because he was an NXT trainer for at least a while. I don't think he's there anymore.
No, I know. I haven't heard him be called Albert.
A-Train.
Matt Bloom,
whatever you want to call him. You know who I was talking about? What was his name? Tanasi or
Tenzai.
Lord Tenzai. Yeah, I mean, this is a girl who just lacks big girl training.
I know what you mean by that. It just sounded funny.
Big female training. Name a big female out there that's done this as a veteran. There just really isn't one. And so this is a woman who's actually in a position to revolutionize women's wrestling, and the fact that there could be a dominant, entertaining big woman in the women's division. I think she just needs to hone her craft. And I also think creative and those who are helping write the matches need to stop putting her in positions to throw people across the ring into turnbuckles and steps and barricades and tables, because obviously it's not her strong suit. She does not have a gauge on her strength. She does not have a gauge on her awareness of where she's throwing them. And that to me is not her fault as more the writer's fault for writing those things in, because you know that she's not deciding to do that. Right. We all know that she doesn't have creative control like that. We know that Kairi Sane does not have creative control like that. They said, Nia Jax, go throw her into those steps, and Nia did what she was asked to do. Now, she did it correctly? Probably not, but you're asking people you're asking someone who's twice their size to believably throw somebody into steps, okay? If I was to ask you to throw me believably into steps, are you going to hold back? Probably not, because a lot of these guys say, don't do that. Throw me into the steps. This is why people get hurt, because they say, no, do it. Mm-hmm. I know it's coming. Do it. I'm sure if interviewed without having to stay in kayfabe or character, Kairi will tell you that she was down for that spot and she knew the consequences going in. I'm not defending Nia Jax's wrongs, because I think that she definitely needs a lot of help in that area. But I don't think you can put all the blame on Nia for making these mistakes when it's consistently written into the script week after week after week. It's almost like they want you to talk about how terrible she is and how, and maybe they do. Maybe they're hoping that this just brings such Baron Corbin type heat that you hate her, and maybe that's what they're going for. But they obviously have plans for her with her going for the title already, and I think I don't want to say she's not deserving, because you don't know the hard work that she puts in. No one does. We don't know who's putting in the hardest work in the training center. We don't know who's doing what. You can say that it's this relationship with The Rock or whatever. That's cool. That's like saying Charlotte Flair got her fame from her father. Maybe at the start, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't in NXT every day grinding, doing backflips and everything else off top ropes. So I don't know. I struggle. I don't like all the heat that she gets, because I know for a fact she's not writing in, let me terribly throw somebody into a turnbuckle to some steel steps. Let me break somebody and gash their head open and give them concussions and potentially ruin their career. I think she's having that written in for her and being told, hey, we need you to be believable. And so in character, she doesn't know her own strength. She doesn't know how to be believable and utilize her strength safely. And she doesn't have any ring awareness. She doesn't know, and that's been clear. Most of the time she's thrown somebody, she's thrown them in the wrong direction or off based a little bit. So for me, I think it's more poor writing because you're expecting somebody who shouldn't be doing that stuff. It'd be like asking Viscera to do a backflip off the top rope. You're asking a guy or asking someone to do something that they really shouldn't even be thinking about doing. Right now, Nia Jax shouldn't be thinking about throwing anybody like that into steps, into a table, into a turnbuckle. I would be writing out those things to try to get away from that prerogative that she's dangerous. Knowing that that's the talk, knowing that that's those things, I would be, just like we do in other storylines, we almost pan away, right? Like take the cameras off that portion of her. Let her just have some solid in-ring matches. No need to go outside the ring. No need to do those things. And just wrestle. Get over as a heel. And then while you're doing that, train her on the side to know her strength, to know how to do those spots. So, yeah, I think it's poor writing more in my opinion.
No, and I agree with you, and I agree with most people on this thread that, you know, she's not doing it intentionally by any means. I think she just needs to... She still needs to put in work in the Performance Center and wherever else that she has access to be able to practice her in-ring craft, for lack of a better way of putting it. I just find it interesting that that these outlets or wrestling tabloids or whatever you want to put it, however you want to phrase it, were very quick to say no one's blaming Nia Jax for the botch and actually almost pushed the blame on Kairi Sane, which I found interesting. So I don't know if we'll ever see. I don't know if we'll ever know. They might completely edit that out. They might not even air the match, period. I don't know. So a lot of you guys that have commented have really commented the same thing. You know, she needs some guidance. She needs a good trainer. I agree with Cole. Matt Bloom would be a good trainer. Someone like Big Show, Kane. If China were still alive and were interested in being back in the wrestling business, potentially. I saw a comment that I'm trying to find where it was. So someone said that they thought Vader would be a good trainer if he was still alive. I don't agree with that. I think Vader is a little.
He was reckless.
Vader was reckless. When he wanted to be, and he was reckless whenever he would be in the ring with someone that he didn't like. He was never purposefully reckless, but he was reckless whenever he would get in the ring with someone that he didn't get along with, or if someone wronged him backstage or something like that. So I can appreciate the suggestion and the mindset because Vader was good. Don't get me wrong. In fact, Vader's probably my favorite all-time big man in the business. Maybe, and I'm counting big men. I'm not throwing in, how can I say this? Big men, I'm including guys that are like 350 or more. I'm not including someone like Undertaker or Andre the Giant's going to be my number one. But I mean, besides him, he's kind of like my default number one. So if I say someone else is number one, they're really like a 1A, I should say. The thing I was laughing at earlier, and we had some people react to it. Big girl training. We might need to have a Going Broadway podcast series of shirts, and that can be our first shirt. Big girl training. That was great. That was just gold. I loved it. All right, guys.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
So before we go through our recaps, I wanted to let you guys know that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast. We have live shows every week, every Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time. Our live shows are on Facebook and on our YouTube channel as well. We are on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts as well, but we're a little bit behind on getting those uploaded. So if you want to check out some of our more recent shows, Facebook and YouTube is going to be the way to go. Please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. So I'll go through those real quick. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. It's goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our Facebook link is over there below our Going Broadway Podcast logo. It's facebook.com/Going Broadway Podcast. Please like that Facebook page. I know it can get a bit confusing, but as far as our giveaways are concerned, it's you have to like the Facebook page and not just follow it. Now, the reason it's confusing is because you need to follow our Twitter and our Twitter and Instagram pages. So our Twitter handle is right below Cole. It's at GoingBRDWI Pod. That is also our Instagram handle at GoingBRDWI Pod. So again, please like our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please follow our Instagram and Twitter pages. If you do all 4 of those, you will get 4 entries into our next belt giveaway. We are doing our next belt giveaway once we hit 5,000 likes on Facebook. I think we're at about 3,700 now, so we got a little ways to go there. Once we get to 1,000 follows on Twitter, we're at about 750, I think. So we're close there. Once we get to 500 YouTube subscribers, I think we're at like 420, so we're close there, and 500 Instagram followers, and we're at about 450 there, maybe 440, something like that. So Facebook, we have a little ways to go, but as far as Instagram and YouTube especially, we're pretty close. Twitter, we're a little further, but closer than our Facebook page anyway. So if you guys ever have any questions about our giveaways, you're welcome to private message me either through my personal Facebook page or through our podcast page as well. As far as our next giveaway and our future giveaways, I mentioned this on Monday's show. From now on, I will not be contacting the winner. So I will post updates frequently on our social media pages as far as what show or what the date of the podcast is that we're going to be doing our next giveaway. It is up to you guys to basically check out the podcast to see if you guys won, whether it's watching us live or within 24 hours of that particular podcast ending. So any winner would have up to 24 hours from the time the podcast ends to see if you've won and to contact me to basically claim your winnings and give me your mailing address and all of that. I will only cover shipping for winners within the lower 48 states. If you live in Alaska or Hawaii or otherwise internationally, you would be responsible for the shipping costs, which would be above and beyond what I would pay for domestic shipping, which is like $20. So again, guys, if you ever have any questions, you're welcome to contact me privately, whether it's through our Facebook page, through my private Facebook page, through my personal Facebook page, there we go, or through our Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page, or through our Twitter or Instagram as well. But again, please do all 4 so you can get 4 entries into our next giveaway. Even if you just create an account just to enter the giveaways, that's totally fine. I mean, we don't base on, we don't check your account to see if you've been active to, that's not a requirement for winning, if that makes sense. Let's see. I'm going to read some of your guys' comments real quick before we get to our recaps of last night's action, as it were.
Someone did mention Rikishi as a mentor for Nia, and I think with the relation,
that could work.
I think that would actually be a great mentor for her because she trusts him as well, and he wasn't necessarily like a choke slam big guy.
Right.
He was more of like a more versatile big guy. So
agreed. Thomas says she could be a beast without all that extra stuff.
Yep.
Let's see. Dalton on YouTube says the agent who handles her should work out her matches with her a bit more. Use the size and less tosses in dangerous spots. Agreed. Let's see. Rusty says she needed more polish from the Performance Center after her rehab, not as sharp as she was before surgery. I mean, I will say I don't know if she was all that sharp before surgery. I mean, she still, unfortunately, it led to injuries for others. Dusty says Sid Vicious or Mick Foley would be a good trainer for how she wrestles. I think Sid was a good suggestion. Thomas says, I know he broke that poor dude's neck with the powerbomb. That was a little earlier on in Sid's career.
But that's a good teaching point, right? Like,
agreed.
Not that it was good that he broke someone's neck, but I'm saying because that happened, now he can say, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is how dangerous something can go if you do it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne Young, first-time watcher. Appreciate you tuning in. I've had a few people comment on the shirt. I appreciate it, guys. Bobby Heenan, baby. Mark says, yes, Nia needs some work, but look at the other side. The girls need to learn how to work with someone Nia's size and skill level as well. Yeah, 100% agreed. Ultimately, what it comes down to is if they know ahead of time Nia's going to be working a program with somebody, like, for example, this match that she's going to have with Asuka, they need to maybe plan out some spots and actually do it in the ring, which I'm sure they do to some extent, but probably not the degree that they should be.
Specifically skill set, though, because the next comment talks about how Kairi's worked with men similar to that size, so like this shouldn't be a problem for Kairi. It's not necessarily much working with the size of Nia. It's working within the skill set that she has at her size. Mm-hmm. Because when you're the same size and you have a lesser skill set, you can still stay in the realm of exciting because there's things that you can do as the skillful one, as the one who has more talent, and say, I can fly out the top rope onto you. I can go dive through the ring posts on ring ropes onto you. I can do these moves to you, and all you have to do is take the bump. Mm-hmm. And then allow that person to shine in a more traditional or standard way. With Nia, it's hard to do that because diving through the ring posts or ring ropes on her doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because she's probably just going to stay standing up in most cases. Mm-hmm. Jumping on top of her implies that you have to find a way to get her down to do that. Or she's just going to catch you and then she has to slam. Like, there's very little that you can do with those kind of movesets. So you have to understand her skill set and understand that, hey, she doesn't really have a whole lot of things in her arsenal. What can we do to still make her look dominant? Is it just allowing her to really just ragdoll me around in the ring without throwing me into a turnbuckle or a steel stairs or a table? It's understanding the skill set more than it is the size.
Agreed. Costaba says, fair enough. The winner needs to participate in watching the podcast. Exactly. I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is we enjoy doing the giveaways, but we want you guys to watch. We want you guys to tune in and, hang out with us for an hour and a half twice a week, engage in the conversation with us, because that's one thing that we kind of pride ourselves in that a lot of other podcasts don't, is we want to get you guys involved. And I'm trying to think of like a tagline for our podcast, something along the lines of, we have the pipe bombs, but you have the platform. So basically, we've got the microphones, but you guys are the ones that can, participate and talk with us and converse and, that kind of thing. So that's why we like to read your guys' comments, because we want you guys to engage in the show with us. And we read comments all the time that, if you agree or disagree with us, that's totally fine. I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is we should all respect everyone else's opinion and, not be, unfortunately, there's too much of this in wrestling today. There's just people ripping others apart for their own opinions, and that's really just not wrestling. It's life in general, and it's kind of sad. But yeah, we want you guys to watch. We want you guys to participate, and again, I'll keep you guys updated when we hit those numbers and when we do our next giveaway. Travis says he wants 25 hours notice. Sorry, buddy, you're getting 24. Dalton says, so I'll go ahead and send you my address now for the giveaway. You can do that if you want, but you'll have to resend it to me again if you win. So that totally wouldn't count. I don't want 100 people sending me your addresses ahead of time. Okay, Dak says, and I'll mention this. Besides the belt giveaway, a hoodie giveaway would be pretty sweet too. Love hoodies and would love to rep you guys. So we do have t-shirts and hoodies for sale at the moment. If you're interested, I'll bring these up real quick. So we do have t-shirts for sale for $25 a piece. That's including tax and shipping. You can get them in black, white, the lighter green color that you see. You can also get the t-shirts in the darker green that you see the hoodies pictured as well. Hoodies also come in black, white. The darker green hoodies also come in the lighter green of the t-shirts. So hoodies are $50. That's again including taxes and shipping. You can private message me if you're interested in buying any of those. They are made to order, which means you'd have to tell me what color and size you want, and it'd be about 3 to 4 weeks to get them made and to your doorstep. So if you're interested, let me know. We will be doing giveaways in the future for t-shirts and hoodies. We'll probably save the hoodie giveaways for once it's fall. I don't think anyone's going to be wearing a hoodie this time of year unless you live in Canada, which, you know what? If you live in Canada and you want one of these, let me know. By the way, that $25 for a shirt and $50 for a hoodie, That includes shipping. Again, that's just within the lower 48 states. If you live in Alaska, Hawaii, or internationally, there would be an added charge for shipping. So I'm going to go back to our 2-man camera, and I hope that our countdown doesn't start again. It did. Oh, sweet. It went back to our... Awesome. I don't know how that happened, but... Gary says, listening from West Virginia, enjoy your show. I appreciate it. Michael says, awesome shirt. I think you're maybe talking about my Bobby Heenan shirt. Could be talking about Cole's Burn It Down shirt.
I mean, come on, old school Seth Rollins.
It is old school by now.
Monday Night Messiah.
Yeah. Thomas says, I was talking about Vader breaking the dude's neck as well. I totally forgotten about Sid doing it. Yeah. Jerry says if Sid doesn't have softball, he would be a good trainer for her. I don't think Sid plays softball now. Maybe he does. I'm not really sure. I know
coach softball.
I know he does his own podcast. Bonnie says, referring to Nia Jax, she needs to embrace being a giant. I heard the Big Show say that once. Thomas says when Sid broke his own leg, that was sick.
Oh my goodness, I can't even think about it.
That was pretty bad. Let's see. Dalton says I like that hoodie. We're getting some emoji faces from Stacy. Stacy says I like my house cold because I live in Florida, so the hoodie would be worn. If you guys want a hoodie, you can buy one. Again, they're $50. Taxes and shipping are included. There we go.
I'm trying to understand that statement. It's hot in Florida, so you keep your house cold, but then you put a hoodie on.
Yeah, because, I mean, and I can relate to that because I like my house cold as well. But then if my house is chilly, it's nice to kind of put a blanket on to kind of, I don't know, balance the...
To get to like a happy medium?
Kind of, yeah. Because I find with my house in particular that if the AC is running, no matter what temperature is on, it does get chilled, especially in the summertime. But if the AC is not running, I'm sweating.
I mean, I'm a hoodie guy, so at the end of the day, like I always am wearing hoodies at my house. But I love that sentence. It was like it's hot here, so I keep it cold, and then I put a hoodie on. Like I just kind of
it's a happy medium. That's all it is.
I like it. So, it made me think.
Dalton says I wear a hoodie in Ohio in the summer to lift train for sure. Get that sweat going, dude. Yeah, if you want a hoodie, let me know. If you want a hoodie for training, you probably don't want a white one. I'd just recommend getting a black one if you're gonna get one and use it for training.
Read that one. Read it for me.
The Costaba? Am I the only one who thinks Cole looks like Chris Evans?
Tell my wife.
Adrian says Sid's shoot stories are hilarious. Dalton says comfort. Hoodies are comfort clothes. 100% agreed. Dalton was commenting on your yawning. I missed it. Did you pull a Mike Tyson on us over there? No comment? Crickets. Travis says you should have a buy one shirt, get three free. I offer $49 for a hoodie with next day delivery. Okay, that's fine. Dalton says black for sure. Yeah, no, seriously, guys, if you're interested in buying a shirt or a hoodie, you can private message me, again, either through our podcast's social media pages or through my private Facebook page as well, and I can get you hooked up. All right, let's go through some recaps real quick. It's about 10:15 our time, so we'll kind of tackle these fairly quick. Let's go through NXT first. I did watch both of these, and I will give my blanket opinion on the two. I thought AEW Dynamite was better last night, but I was pleasantly surprised by the Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle match. I thought that was good. So as far as NXT goes, we open with the match for it's the triple threat to basically figure out who will be in the finals of the interim cruiserweight title tournament. We got Drake Maverick, Kushida, and Jake Atlas. The match itself, it had its ups and downs, I feel like. I did like the ending, though. It was very creative. Basically, Kushida's got Jake Atlas in an armbar, and then Drake kind of slides over, puts his arm across Jake Atlas while his arms are down, or shoulders are down, and the referee counts to 3, and Drake Maverick gets the win via pinfall. You could make the argument, though, from a wrestling rules standpoint, for lack of a better way of putting it, that Kushida could have had the pin on him as well because his legs were over Kushida. I'm sorry, Kushida's legs were over Jake Atlas. Atlas's shoulders were down. That would be the pin. But I mean, I get from a storyline standpoint what the direction they're going. It's interesting though that they're doing this with Drake Maverick because most of us know that he was one of the talents that were released. He's still doing his 30-day compete or no compete or whatever it is until he's officially done. But could this be a work, and could they have hired Drake Maverick back, or is their intention to? It's an interesting, I don't want to say sub-storyline, but it's an interesting way of kind of blending in a real-life situation into their storyline. So I think it's interesting, but at the same time, I'm not all that excited about a Phantasma and Drake Maverick match. That's just me. But they also didn't say when that title match is going to take place. They didn't say anything about it being on TakeOver in your house. At least I don't remember them saying that.
I think it actually is for that. I'll say this. I think it was probably discussed when he was released. Hey, we're going to release you, which means you're not going to get paid. All right? For during this time, you're not going to get paid. But if you work these dates, we're going to put the belt on you. And when you get the belt, we're going to re-sign you. It's just to clear some money up during this thing. Now, if you're Drake Maverick, you made the move to WWE, and just about everything you've done so far has been less than above average.
Mm-hmm.
So average at best. So this is a chance for him to get a title, to make that jump to WWE worth it in a sense. I mean, he had the AOP storyline, then he had a couple 24/7 title storylines, and then was obviously the 205 manager. But other than that, there hasn't been much for him. So to get a belt on him that actually has some kind of seriousness to it, at least, and
right.
not a comedic kind of belt, I think that was a good move for him. I think, to me, I feel like he wins this. I feel like you've done too much with the whole storyline to not have him win it. And then I would actually love to see him versus Kushida one-on-one. I think that's a match that to me actually has some kind of excitement to it. So, and I think that the title match between him and Phantasma will actually be really good. I think it's underrated because, one, Phantasma just kind of got introduced in this tournament, and we've only seen like 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't really seen a lot of character development from him, and we haven't seen about probably not even half of what he actually can do. Same with Drake Maverick. I think Drake Maverick, we just haven't seen a lot of wrestling from him in WWE to know how far he actually could go with somebody as talented as Phantasmo. So I thought the match was good. The ending was cool. You could even make an argument though that Kushida's shoulders were down, which is why
I thought that his right shoulder was up during the pinfall. If you go back and watch his right shoulder,
yeah, I didn't pay attention to it too much.
His right shoulder was kind of like up off the mat, kind of trying to put torque on the
right
on the I say put torque on the arm. We all know it's worked, but you know what I mean. So then we go to they do a quick backstage thing with Drake and Kushida, basically saying that if Drake wins, Kushida gets the first title shot, and on we go. As far as Kushida goes, I don't want to get on the soapbox for too long. I really think they're doing Kushida a disservice compared to the talent that is there. I think he is, at least with how WWE has booked this cruiserweight title, I think they're doing him a disservice by putting him in this cruiserweight division. I get he's in the weight class, but then you've got guys like Johnny Gargano and a host of others that are also in this weight division that they're not in the cruiserweight. They're not fighting for the cruiserweight title, and I just think that if Kushida is going to be in this cruiserweight division, he needs to be the champion. He needs to be the one to kind of like carry the belt, make cruiserweights back to being synonymous with having good matches. Because credit to 205 Live, at one point they didn't have a lot of viewers, but they put on some of the best matches that were up there with NXT takeover quality type matches. So then we go to a quick little promo with Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano. We get a we get music that hits for Adrian Alanis to come out. He's an Evolve wrestler, for those that aren't familiar, but it's a quick match. Gargano gets the easy win. Then we get to something. This was really entertaining. I thought this was awesome. They go to a kind of a parody of the Dinner with the Garganos, except it's Keith Lee and Mia Yim. Very comedic, very almost cinematic feel-ish. And they kind of took shots at each other. It was funny. It was had a couple of moments where it was like, Mia Yim ripped on LeRae and her hair and because she's like coloring it every week, and it was funny. You guys if you guys haven't seen it, you should go back and watch it. The whole segment, it was funny. It was what it was supposed to do. I found it enjoyable, and I kind of hope they do more stuff like this, because this kind of showed the personality of Mia Yim and Keith Lee that we haven't seen yet. So
I definitely I liked the Johnny Gargano Candice LeRae one that they did. I thought it was different and interesting, and I liked it. But when they switched it up and kind of even underplayed it with the flashlight, like when she shone the flashlight, and Keith Lee's like, I don't really know if I really want to do this, and then did it. Mm-hmm. Also having Tegan just kind of play into that storyline too, was nice. It was entertaining though. Like I said, we've seen a lot of Mia's personality shown in her character, but Keith Lee has not really gotten an opportunity to show that side of him, right? To show that he can cut a promo like that, and to be able to see that and be like, okay, yeah, you're entertaining, all out of the ring. What was nice to see and refreshing.
Agreed. We get a couple of promos that I won't go into them too much. I was actually wrong as far as the timing. The Drake Maverick Kushida promo was actually after this. Then we get the NXT Tag Champions from Imperium. They talk about Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch obviously setting up a tag title match between those two tag teams eventually. We get to a match with Shotzi Blackheart and Raquel Gonzalez. I was not impressed with this match. This match kind of felt like it dragged a little bit. It even went to a commercial break and came back for another few minutes after the break. I'm surprised that I don't know what her record is. I've read stuff online that they're wanting to push Shotzi Blackheart, but she's taken a lot of L's lately. It just feels like she has not had a signature win at this point. I mean, I know she's won. I know she's won some, but it's just like
one or two. And what's funny is some of those she's won with interference, though.
Yeah.
With like the Tegan, because I think she fought Dakota Kai, and I think maybe she got the win over Dakota when Tegan came out because Raquel intervened. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like they want to push Raquel and Dakota Kai, though, too. So it's really hard. Like, when you have so many people you want to push, someone's got to take the L, right? It's just...
No, I agree. It's just it just feels like if what I've read is true, this would have been a good signature win for Shotzi Blackheart.
She's got to drop that car. I'm sorry. That little car she comes
agree.
out in is just, to me, is not doing it.
It doesn't come off as silly in a good way. But yeah, Raquel Gonzalez gets the win here. Dakota Kai gets involved, and from a creative storyline standpoint, Dakota Kai getting involved was not a surprise. We get a little bit of a hype for Finn Balor and Damian Priest at TakeOver coming up, and then we get our next match, Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai against Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green. They booked this in such a way that Flair had to come up with a tag partner. It just was like Flair came out and then Chelsea Green's music hit, and it almost felt like they were supposed to. It's almost like they thought, being WWE, that we as a fan should have been like, oh. I just found it kind of like I was like, okay, whatever.
I was definitely expecting more of a wow factor.
Agreed. That's what I'm getting at.
I honestly, I was thinking Candice LeRae, just because she's one of their more top heels right now, and she didn't really have a match booked for the night. Mm-hmm. So I thought, and there's history there with her turn, being friends with Rhea and them, and then kind of turning to this heel. So I don't know. I thought the introduction, and then there was really nothing said. Like, I searched throughout all the land of NXT and found this remarkable talent, whatever. Nothing. It was just like, come out, hold on. Oh, here she comes. Boom. And Chelsea Green hasn't even really had like a great match yet on NXT either.
She's been in NXT for a cup of coffee and a couple wins. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Easy wins though. There's not been a match yet that was like, oh yeah, her and Charlotte should be on the same team.
And ultimately, I mean, Flair gets the win via roll up here, which I think is the right call to make here. You know, no one looks bad coming out of this match. I definitely don't think Chelsea Green should have gotten, a pinfall win herself. If anything, this may have been a way to get Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai over and maybe to have Chelsea Green take the pinfall, which I told Cole before the show went on. Chelsea Green apparently fired Robert Stone, so she's not part of the Robert Stone brand anymore. And I think that could have played better into if she would have taken the pinfall here because, Robert Stone is holding her back, blah, blah, blah. But inevitably...
Or just him involved in general. Like, there was no reason to fire him. He didn't really do anything.
It just came off as being awkward feeling whenever I read that this morning. It's
That's probably the best thing for her, though, because honestly, it's a stupid gimmick. It was dumb to begin with. She's better off just trying to get over as this kind of princess, I'm the best thing there ever is gimmick thing.
Yeah.
She is trying to have some dude that we've never heard of and has no weight to us trying to tell us that we should bow to her.
Yeah. We get a quick backstage segment with Gargano and Candice LeRae basically saying that they're their only power couple. Gargano saying he's going to take the North American title. Just kind of a time filler, is what it was. Then we get a Zoom call segment, Skype, whatever, with Adam Cole and William Regal. They do some back and forth banter. Some of it was kind of funny because William Regal says, when are you going to stop? Regal says, you need to stop acting like a baby or whatever. Here's what I found funny. Adam Cole shot back at William Regal, basically saying that, he's got jokes now or whatever, almost as he kind of plays into William Regal's old man's man gimmick that WWF at the time had for him, and then they quickly dropped it because they realized it was terrible.
Said, I haven't heard a joke that funny since the man's man.
Yeah.
Since you were a man's man.
That's right. So it was a cool little segment. They were kind of negotiating as far as what's going to happen going forward. We know that we're going to get Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream again for the NXT title again.
Probably for the last time.
I hope it's for the last time.
Because either way it goes, right? Because the stipulation is obviously if Adam Cole wins, Velveteen Dream cannot challenge again for the belt as long as Adam Cole has it. Me being the believer that Undisputed Era is on their way up and out of NXT, I think this could be the match that Velveteen Dream wins.
Which I don't
know if he's the right call to put the belt on. I agree with you.
He's not the right call because of this. It's like they've just completely swept under the rug this underage sexting stuff. I'm not trying to be too blunt, but that's ultimately what it comes down to is
whether he did it or not, it still just isn't a very good look.
It is not a good look because people are going to bring this back up if they put the belt on him.
Right.
People like us that have a podcasting platform, people that are within, any wrestling related media, they're going to bring this back up and they're going to wonder, okay, you're going to put a fairly well-known men's title on somebody that was involved in something like this. It's not a good look. And ultimately, I kind of hope that Adam Cole does get the win. Even more so, I kind of selfishly hope from a personal standpoint that this gets rid of Velveteen Dream out of the main card picture because I don't think, if you guys go back and watch it, I don't think you can really deny the fact that this was Velveteen Dream that this happened to, because if it wasn't, if the evidence wasn't so obvious, I think WWE would have been more proactive in saying, we're still looking into this, we're investigating, we're going to fight this. There's nothing to fight is what it comes down to. Like it's almost positively certain that he didn't, in my opinion.
I also think it's hard to withdraw him from storylines, though, if you're sweeping it under the rug, because then it almost looks like you're admitting guilt or admitting fault, I should say. So I don't know. I know they're in a rock and a hard place in that. So hopefully they don't put the belt on him. Hopefully Adam Cole gets this win, and then maybe the next challenger to come up, whoever that may be, is now the guy to do that. But because they really teased that, Adam Cole's the longest reigning NXT champion. He's looking for his praise, all this stuff. So it's interesting to see. Man, I like William Regal though, and I wish that he did more on the mic for NXT, being the GM, because he's so good on the mic. And
he is
so good at setting up the story, and so I really liked how he handled this interview. Or negotiations, if you will.
I agree. We get a match with Tommaso Ciampa and Leon Ruff. This was a fairly quick match. It was basically just to continue the storyline with Ciampa and Karrion Kross. The quick segment after the match is basically just Karrion Kross doing a quick little interview, and his promo was, I shouldn't say interview, it was just a promo saying, Ciampa, basically Ciampa needs to be careful and blah 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 blah. That's kind of how that promo felt to me. I mean, again, I get it's a time filler. They're building the storyline, but the promo was very underwhelming compared to the past couple weeks, where Kross came off as this one of the best debuts I've seen since this pandemic, if not the best debut from a theatrical presentation standpoint. So it felt underwhelming, but I get what they're going for. They're just trying to keep things simple and continue a storyline. This is the part of the card that I was most excited about. We get the cage fight with Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. I like how it had a more shoot-style match feel. They did integrate wrestling a little bit. I like how they integrated the top of the cage from a scaffold standpoint. I mean, even I think it was Morrow that...
They're calling it a pit fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, whatever it's called, cage fight, pit fight, whatever they wanted to call it. But even Morrow referred to the top as kind of akin to the old school scaffold matches. They even referenced the Skywalker's match from the 80s that NWA had. We won't get too long on this conversation, but it's been rumored that this is going to be Matt Riddle's last NXT match. He did take the loss here. Thatcher took a couple of stiff shots to the face that they made it look really real. Really real. They made it look real from the standpoint that he actually lost teeth. I don't know that it was or wasn't, but it did look like he had a bloody mouth. Again, I know they use capsules for that kind of thing, so don't know if it was real or not. They did a great job of making it seem that way. Thatcher does get what I'll call the clean win with the rear naked choke. Kurt Angle calls the match, and they basically just go off the air with Thatcher having his hand raised by Kurt Angle. And again, this could be Matt Riddle's way out the door to SmackDown. So I thought it was a good match. I mean, easily match of the card for NXT, but they only had, 5 matches on this card as opposed to 7 that they have had lately. From top to bottom, I thought it was a decent card. Again, I preferred AEW Dynamite last night, but it wasn't bad. I mean, they continued their storylines, and from an in-ring standpoint, it wasn't bad, especially the last match, the cage fight, pit fight, whatever you wanted to call it. But
I think this was a good setup show for their go-home show before In Your House.
The go home for the go home show.
Yeah, you know, I think this was an episode that needed to have a lot of those time fillers, needed to have a lot of those. Let's continue to build the story and get it to kind of its climax in a sense. Let's make sure it's ready to go. Mm-hmm. This match was great because it made Matt Riddle look good, but also put Timothy Thatcher in a place to move up the card if Matt Riddle is in fact leaving to go to SmackDown. So I thought it was good. A lot of people are asking if we thought that blood spot is real.
I don't know. That's why I was saying I don't know. It looked like it, though.
It looked real, man. I think the tooth thing was fake. I think that tooth comes in and out of his mouth. But it looked real. It looked legitimate. A lot of great spots in this match. I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought NXT was decent for the night. To me, I felt both shows were just kind of there for me. I don't know if I had one over the other.
The only reason I put Dynamite over NXT last night is because of the not the in-ring aspect. I mean, I thought the in-ring aspect was about equal, but I found AEW more entertaining because I got more laughs out of it. Case in point, how they opened up AEW. So we'll just go right to that. They opened up AEW with Inner Circles. Basically, they're standing outside of Daly's place, but they got a truck nearby. They've got some boxes, and Jericho basically says they're trying to bounce back from their loss. But in these boxes, they have a bunch of Stadium Stampede champions, but it's got them on it instead of the Elite. And just they play off the comedy factor. You know, they say they've only got a few boxes, but they opened up a truck to, supposedly show there's a bunch of boxes with these shirts in it. And it was a funny way to start the show because, they're I mean, you can see they're AEW licensed shirts. It's got the AEW logo on the shirt. I shouldn't say they're licensed, but you know what I mean. They made the shirts look as real as possible, even down to the small detail. But it's a funny comedic way to open the show. I mean, I enjoyed it right off the bat. I mean, 5 minutes into the show, they already had me laughing. Then we get the first match, Private Party and Joey Janela against Matt Hardy and the Young Bucks. Private Party and Joey Janela come out, but then we get a quick interview with Hardy, and the entire Elite are there at first. And then basically Adam Page says he wants to leave or head out or whatever. Kenny Omega follows him, so it's just the Bucks and the Hardys. Or I'm sorry, Matt Hardy. So they're talking about the match, and the Bucks basically tell Matt Hardy they want a different version of Matt Hardy and not just broken Matt Hardy. So then Hardy goes off camera, comes back, and he looks like an older version, like the Hardy Boys version of Matt Hardy. But then they say, no, we want an even older version, turn back the clock even more, so that we basically get Matt Hardy pre-WWE that was very much akin to the style that the Bucks wrestle, like a spot monkey kind of term, I guess I'll use. The match itself I found to be okay. I guess I'm used to Young Bucks matches being better, and that's just because I'm spoiled in that regard. A lot of people disagree, but I think the Young Bucks are maybe the best tag team in wrestling right now. I get a lot of people don't like them because they just do spots, but the fact is they're still athletic. There's still athleticism there, and it's part of storyline. I mean, it is what it is. Just because they're not ground and pound mat wrestlers doesn't mean they're any less proficient from a wrestler standpoint. I'd easily put them in my top 3 as far as tag teams anyway. We get to the end of the match. It looks like one of them, one of the Private Party guys, I forgot which one it was. It looked like he was hinting at an injury. I don't know if it's legit or not. He does end up getting help to the back. But the Hardy, I keep saying the Hardys, the Young Bucks and Matt Hardy do get the win. It was they set up the Twister Fate, and then that sets up the more bang for your buck finisher. They get the win. Then after, we get what a lot of us have been waiting for.
The Butcher and the Blade beating up on
exactly.
the Young Bucks.
So yeah, the Butcher and the Blade come into the ring because to get retribution for the unintentional super kick during the match. Then out of nowhere, this old school truck pulls up, and we get FTR. We get.
I don't think they ever called them the Revolt last night.
They didn't. They're FTR. They're not. I think they're ditching the Revolt because of the whole cease and desist thing that they got from the actual indie tag team.
FTR just sounds better.
I like FTR better. Also, I think it works. FTR comes out. It looks like they're going to attack the Bucks. But then they turn away, and then they attack Butcher and the Blade. I thought this was a great swerve, but the more that they hesitated attacking the Bucks, the more I'm just like, they're not going to do it. They're going to go for Butcher and Blade, and sure enough, they did. So it's going to be interesting how they move forward with FTR, if they're going to be a face or a heel team, or maybe kind of a tweener team. But either way, I'm glad they debuted. I think they both look good. I think it's the look that they have, it was whether they're just in street clothes. I don't know if they're going to go with that as far as their as far as ring attire, but they've been outside of the ring for a while. But you can tell they've both been staying in shape. They look good. I'm happy they're with AEW, and I'm excited to see how they add to the tag title scene. I would say give it 6 months and they'll be AEW tag champions.
When I watched this, I saw it happen, and I had a little inclination something was going to happen because Alex sent me a text and he said, "I'll let you watch it." And I was like, okay, what's going on here? So when I saw him pull up, all I could think in the back of my head was, man, that was quick. Like AEW didn't wait 1 second to get these guys on air. When the time was right, right after Double or Nothing, when the Young Bucks are out of a storyline and just looking for something. So I think this was a perfect setup. One, it gives them a match with Butcher and Blade to have their kind of debut.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sets up for the tag match, I think, that people have been waiting for.
Inevitably, we're going to get the Bucks and FTR for sure.
I just don't know. So my thing is that would have been a great Double or Nothing match, and maybe it was just too soon from the release to plan that and get that on the books, because that would have been a great pay-per-view match. And now I just don't know if you hold off until maybe Fyter Fest at least, which would be the next thing, and that looks like that'll happen sometime this summer because they're already trying to book the card, even though they don't necessarily have location and things kind of set for that. But
yeah, I am surprised that they didn't have them debut on Double or Nothing, and it's literally just 4 days later. But
maybe just because of the Brian Cage debut, you don't want to over debut, especially a guy that wasn't a WWE guy, that didn't have the same platform. So I get the booking decision, but hopefully this Young Bucks Revival match doesn't just take place on a AEW Dynamite.
That's a
Fyter Fest. Already with Brian Cage versus Moxley, I feel like that's a great match because if you are a independent scene guy, you love Brian Cage, and if you're a WWE guy or if you're a more of a mainstream wrestler fan, you like Jon Moxley.
I almost think that at Fyter Fest you need to save FTR and the Bucks for like one of their main pay-per-views. I think Fyter Fest is going to be kind of their last one was more of a it was a pay-per-view, don't get me wrong, but it was done like they did a collaboration with another organization, not wrestling organization, but
it was to raise awareness and money for.
Yeah, it was like a charity kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that maybe at Fyter Fest we'll get FTR and Butcher and Blade, but then a later pay-per-view we're going to get FTR and the Bucks.
It's a slow build to what would it be? All Out, I guess. Or all in. Which one is?
I think
there's all out. There's all in.
It's all out. All Out will be in September, so I think that's going to be. I guess
that's not too far off because that's only like 3 months. If you have interference, maybe you do a triple threat between Butcher and the Blade.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the one-on-one match yet. I guess there's things that you could do to slow build that. They kind of tease, I have respect for it. And then when the Young Bucks finally stuck out their hand, they walked away. So maybe there's a slow build there. I think that because we want the match so bad, we're just ready for it. And waiting that long could just feel like a drag. But it does need to be on the right platform, though. That's a match that if it's not at Fyter Fest, it needs to be at the next pay-per-view after that. You cannot do this on a Dynamite.
Agreed. All out will be Bucks and FTR. I'm calling it now. If FTR is gonna have a match at Fyter Fest, it's gonna be with Butcher and Blade. That's the way I look at it. We've got Jon Moxley out for commentary for the next match with Brian Cage and Lee Johnson. This is essentially a squash match, just a time filler. Brian Cage gets the win. Obviously, we get Taz on the mic doing a quick promo on Moxley, and that's pretty much that segment. So they did what we're supposed to do. They're building towards Fyter Fest, whenever that may be.
This should be Jon Moxley's best match to date. I thought the Brody Lee match was great, but Brian Cage and him, this is going to be a chance for us to see Jon Moxley versus somebody who actually can give him in-ring challenges, like can take wrestling to a new level. So I'm actually super excited for this match. Hopefully it's done right. But I really feel like this could be Jon Moxley's best match to date.
Could be. I'm going to breeze through pretty much the rest of this card, guys. I need to get through a little bit quicker because we're running short on time. We get a promo with Britt Baker basically saying all these injuries are a conspiracy against her. It's a funny promo. Like I said, this was the most enjoyable promo I've seen from Britt Baker to date. You can tell the people that are out with her. There's another lady that's like trying to help her with the the board, easel, whatever. She basically goes through this outline of conspiracy that everyone wants her injured, that she's a role model. If there wasn't for her, there wouldn't be an AEW women's division. And that was pretty much it. But again, it was an enjoyable promo.
It keeps the story going too.
Agreed.
She's gonna be out 2 months, 3 months maybe, and it just keeps the story going with everybody. It's not like she has to keep this one storyline going. It just keeps the storyline going that everybody hates her. And when she comes back, she's gonna be after everybody.
Mm-hmm. Just some of you guys' quick comments. William says Bucks versus FTR. Rusty says finally FTR. Steve, FTR. Sean says FTR meh. Sorry, Sean, I got to disagree with you.
I'm assuming the name, like you don't like the name FTR.
Possibly.
I could see that. And to each his own. Like, honestly, because we're used to them as the Revival, it's going to be really hard to like them name-wise as any other name. That's why I think I'm more okay with FTR, our top guys, just because at least it results back to that.
I mean, FTR, I actually prefer that over Revival myself. I mean, that's just me. William says Gallus and Anderson going to AEW would give them the best tag team division. I don't think they're going to go to AEW. I would be surprised if they do at this point.
And I would say even without them, they have the best tag team division.
There we go.
Even without Gallus and Anderson, to me, at this point in their career, do not add to their tag division. They just kind of are a filler team at that point. I would say that AEW, that's where AEW shines right now, actually, to me, is they have the best tag division out there right now.
Let's see. So we've got another promo with Inner Circle. Alex Marvez is doing their interview while it's going on. Orange Cassidy is walking in the background. And that sets up for something later on the card, which I'll mention here shortly. I thought this was neat, though. I mean, it puts Orange Cassidy seemingly in a new feud puts him in a feud with somebody new.
They're just finally using him, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. Then we get a non-title match with Christy James against new champion Hikaru Shida.
Holy Shida! They were chanting that. I thought it was hilarious.
Shida does get the win. I actually found this to be a good, solid match, and I wouldn't be surprised if Christy James, because she's had a couple of good matches. She had a good match with Big Swole a couple months ago.
I think that's her only match. I'm pretty sure her record only showed 0-1.
It might have been. I just remember her name, and I think that she's pretty good in the ring. I mean, she's not a not a name at all. None of us have heard of her, but she's a good wrestler. I think she showed that last night, as well as the match with Big Swole a few weeks ago, however long it was. Then we get a promo with the new AEW TNT champion, Cody. He is talking with Tony Schiavone. He basically equates his situation to Tom Brady because he says that Tom Brady's his favorite QB because Brady wasn't picked first, as Cody wasn't even picked first as far as getting called by Tony Khan when forming AEW. He said he wasn't first, second, or even the third person that Tony Khan called. So it's almost like Cody's teasing like a heelish role here, but then he holds up four fingers akin to the Four Horsemen. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So it's like if he does turn heel at some point, they've kind of planted that seed, but at the same time, him showing the four fingers of the Four Horsemen, it kind of, you knew at that point that he wasn't gonna turn right then. Then he goes on to say that apparently he's going to be defending the TNT title on a weekly basis now, which I like that mentality, because if you go back in the days of the old school NWA TV title, I'm not saying how it is now, I'm saying back in the 80s, it was a belt that was defended on weekly television, and the rules were that the initial rules, these kind of died off not too long after they started doing this, but I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes basically if you're wrestling the TV champion, that if you didn't defeat the TV champion within 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it was, then that was it. Like the TV champion at that time did not have to get the pinfall over you. You had to pin the champion to win the title. And so I don't know if they're going to go that extreme of a route with the TNT title, but I do like the fact that it seems like it's going to be defended every week. And as it should be. I mean, I kind of feel like that there needs to be an element every week of a championship being defended, whether it's your main title, your mid-card title, your tag title, your women's title, however you look at it. So,
and this goes back into, again, Cody making sure that the whole roster gets a time to shine. I mean, we're getting Jungle Boy versus Cody Rhodes for a title next week. We obviously know that Jungle Boy is probably not going to win that match, but the match itself is going to make Jungle Boy look really, really good.
Which is what I said last Monday. Cody's going to use this role to make other guys look good in the ring.
Even if they don't get the win, they're going to get their spot on the card. They're going to look good, and it's going to allow them to build towards the future. And so I'm super excited that he's going to be setting it up each week for somebody to shine.
Mm-hmm. We get a Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc against SCU tag match. I don't have a lot to say about this match. I thought it was just an average match at best. I mean, there were a couple of spots where, unfortunately, I noticed Kazarian seems to be botching a little more lately, whether they're big or small. I mean, it's like some of his moves, unfortunately, they aren't looking as fluid as he once was. I get that he's older, that happens with age, but it's just an observation that I wanted to mention. Unfortunately, it is what it is at this point.
I'm assuming the best friends tag match against Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page is happening at Fyter Fest, because this match was for a tag team championship opportunity next week.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting that Kip Sabian and Havoc got this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a way to fill time, honestly, as far as...
And Havoc's 7-3. I didn't realize that, but they've been giving him a lot of wins on Dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this dude's kind of flying under the radar right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd be shocked if Havoc and Sabian win the tag titles next week. I mean, I would be floored.
Not with best friends in the weights.
No.
I think out of the two, like I said when I predicted best friends would win, that I really think they should be the next guys to hold the belt if it's not going to be the Young Bucks or Lucha Bros, somebody more prominent. I think best friends has name value. I think they're entertaining to watch and they can work the mic, and Orange Cassidy being involved as well is great. So.
Mm-hmm. We're going to breeze through the rest of this, guys. We got about 5 minutes that we need to wrap up this show by. MJF and Wardlow, they kind of tease some issues in a promo prior to the Battle Royal. Basically MJF says, he was only ribbing and let's go have some fun, blah, blah, blah. We get the Battle Royal. And I've always liked Battle Royals. I mean, Royal Rumble matches and, your average Battle Royal, it's just, I like them. I think they've always been fun to watch. So I was excited about this. Like Cole said earlier, Jungle Boy gets the win. Now, prior to, actually, this is right after the Battle Royal started. The bell rang. Orange Cassidy is still making his way out, but then he gets attacked by Ortiz and Santana, obviously teasing some sort of feud with Orange Cassidy and the Inner Circle. Orange Cassidy would later come back out towards the end of the match, and it would be down to him and Jungle Boy. And Jungle Boy does this Hurricane Rana kind of thing and eliminates Orange Cassidy. Jungle Boy gets the win. He gets a TNT title shot next week. So that means next week we're getting 2 title matches. We're getting Hangman Page and Omega against Havoc and Sabian for the tag titles. We're getting Cody and Jungle Boy for the TNT title. I think next week's card is, I've said this on prior shows. I like how AEW actually tells you on a given Wednesday night what next Wednesday is going to look like, as opposed to NXT, where you
NXT is actually doing that now too. I don't know if you've noticed that.
They've been doing it more lately, but they're still throwing in other matches or segments that weren't announced ahead of time,
Right.
which is fine. But what's going to be on AEW the following week. I mean, even down to a segment. For example, they said Chris Jericho is going to be wrestling next week. So anyway. So that was my favorite part of the show, was the Battle Royal, but then they end with this, promo and schmaz with Inner Circle and Mike Tyson and his group of guys, and I liked the segment itself. I mean, it was funny. It was what the Inner Circle is known for. Sammy Guevara gives them all trophies, but one says like best dad jokes on it. He gave to Jericho.
I think they all did. They all had them on there.
I thought they all said something different, maybe not. But basically, Sammy Guevara was like, it's a pandemic. It's hard to get trophies. And it's just, it's comedic. It's funny. It's what it's supposed to do. But then out of nowhere, Jericho says, he wants Tyson's head on a platter or something like that. And I'm just like, where are they going with this?
I had a left field at that. You know, like,
and so you knew at that point that Mike Tyson was going to come out, which at this point in the show, I honestly forgot that they'd advertised Mike Tyson for Dynamite, period. And then, Mike Tyson and his guys come out. Tyson just looks like, I'll be honest, guys. He seemed like he was, I don't know if he was just being Mike Tyson or if he was drunk or what, but it just felt super, super awkward. It didn't feel like in any way, shape, or form that Mike Tyson was even needed there. I mean, they could have figured out a different way to end the show.
Just like at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, Mike Tyson did not need to be there. I really